Welcome to another Cricut tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to make those really neat paper flowers that everybody is making, and I'm going to go ahead and start you guys straight from the beginning. So we're going to start here on Google, and all I'm going to look up is a paper flower template. And I'm just going to go to images, and you'll see there's a variety of ones that you can do. Lots of different shapes, lots of different types. These are usually for the bigger ones, these ones, and then these are for the rolled ones. But if you scroll through, you'll see there's a couple different, options that you can do. We are going to do the rolled flower, so we're going to do this one with the little petals. So usually what I do, I will just right-click on the image, save image as, and then I'm going to go ahead and save it into my Cricut folder, which is on my desktop. And I'm just going to call it paper flower. That makes it just easier to find when you go over to your design space. So go over to your design space, click new, and then click upload, which is right here in the lower left-hand corner. We're going to go ahead and upload that image. So we're going to click upload and then browse. Browse is going to find us our image. Go back into our Cricut folder and scroll down until you find your paper flower. I went way too far. Oh, it's right there. So here's our paper flower. We're going to select simple because it's just one color. It's nothing too crazy. It's a pretty easy project. So we're going to select simple. Hit continue. And we have to delete the negative space, so the stuff that we want the Cricut to cut out, which is just the background. So this one's really easy. Again, it's not a lot to do. So you just clicked and got rid of everything. You want to make sure you keep the inside of your flower. We're going to go ahead and click continue. And in this one, you want to make sure that you save it as a cut. This one on this side is a print file. The one that is gray on the right-hand side is your cut. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as a cut file and save. And then all we want to do is find it over here in our uploaded and insert the image. Now in this case, you could leave it this size. It's going to be a little bit small. I usually do my flowers about 5 inches, just depending on what I'm feeling that day. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 of them just to show you guys. So just click duplicate and that will give you the exact same size flower. I move mine over just so that I can see it better, make sure it looks the same. You never know. Now being the size that these are, they should print on the same paper. So I'm going to go ahead and click make it. Now I'm going to be using a smaller cardstock. A lot of the less expensive stuff that I actually really like to use comes from Michael's, and it's $2.50, and it comes in a size an 8.5 by 11. So for anyone who's wondering how to change your mat size or the size of the item that you're cutting on, it's right over here under material size. So you go and find what size you're looking for. So I know my sheets are 8.5 by 11. So it is going to move my flowers. It does fit 2 on one sheet, so that's pretty great. It shouldn't be too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through the cut, and then when we come back, I'll show you how to do the actual making of the flower. So again, you want to make sure that you do set your dial to the correct item that you want. And if you look right here where it says material set to, you'll see it change as I move the dial, which I will show you the dial in the next part of the video. So this is kind of a lighter cardstock, so I'm going to use light cardstock plus. It's not heavy, but it's also not paper thin. So we're going to go ahead and load it, and I'm going to let it cut, and I will see you guys in just a little bit. All right, everybody, we are ready to cut our paper flower out. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the dial. And this is where you're going to set what your material is. And you can see it's got all kinds of different options. Paperboard, paper, which would be like notebook paper, vinyl. I'm using light cardstock. There's thicker cardstock and bonded fabric. So all you need to do now, and I'll put you over here so we can see, I've loaded my mat, and I have my paper pre-set on my mat. I find that when I load mine, I do tend to press it just a little bit, just so that it does load under the rollers. So I'm going to push it in just a little pressure. So you hit the load button, and the next thing you do is you're going to hit the Cricut when it's lit up. So it's the little C with the antenna. We're going to click that, and then we're going to watch it do its fancy magic. See here, it's going to go ahead and cut that right out for us. And this one is going to cut us 2 flowers. Again, you can make your flowers any size you want. I just wanted to make them a little bit larger so that you guys had a better view of what they're going to look like, and it'll just make it a little bit easier for you all to see them. You can see that it's going to go ahead and cut around. And there's one flower complete. I'm going to go ahead and let it cut the second flower out. And then I will show you guys the weeding and how to get them off the mat, and then we'll get started. Okay, we have our paper cut out, so I'm just going to carefully peel it off. I am using the light grip mat. I find the green is a little too grippy, especially for things that are maybe a little bit more delicate. And you'll notice on this one it does peel off really nicely. I've used mine quite a few times. As you can see, it's a little bit dirty, probably needs cleaned. So you see we have our paper flower little templates here. I'm going to use the scraper tool, or maybe the spatula, if I can find it. We're going to use the scraper just to get it started to come off. These ones, it doesn't totally matter if you bend them, because you're going to be folding them and bending them anyways. So you can just peel them right off and let them kind of roll around themselves. That's completely and totally okay. You can see how easily they come off. It's really nice. I love the light grip mat. It's very, very handy. Okay, so now that we have, you see our little spiral flowers, the next thing that we need to do is to break down the fibers within the cardstock. You can do this a couple different ways. You can roll it along the edge of a table. You could try just rolling it around your finger. I use a bone folder, which you can get at any craft store, usually in the paper craft section. They're only a couple bucks, $4 or $5. So all I do is I just start with one petal, and I always start with the outside, and I just sort of roll the bone folder around it. Oh, and see, and I broke it. You got to be a little bit careful with them, because you can break petals off. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to keep going. If it were a project I was doing as a gift, I might have considered leaving it, but it's not a big deal. So all you want to do is just go around the edges of your petals here and just lightly break them down a little bit. Lightly get them to roll so that they're, I will say it does get a little bit tight, and when it does I try to flip it and just try different angles to get it to kind of roll around. But basically you just want it to kind of get the paper going for you, so to speak, so that it's a little bit easier when you go to actually roll it around itself. It does tend to help. I tried doing it without the bone folder, and it just doesn't roll as nicely. That's just my experience. So now you have this whole rolled up doodad. You always want to start rolling from the outside, so this outermost layer, because you're going to end up with this centerpiece as what's holding your flower together. And I will say that don't get discouraged if your first few flowers don't come out great, because it does take some practice as to how tightly you need to roll everything. But you see, I roll the middle kind of tight, and then I keep rolling around, and you just keep kind of rolling. You want to try to keep it kind of even here on the edge. You just kind of keep rolling and rolling and rolling. It is a lot of rolling. My middle is a little bit loose, and I will fix that, and I will show you guys how it's gonna kind of fix itself in the long run. So you keep rolling until you get all the way to the center. So you'll see the bottom has kind of a piece to it. So it's such a flat bottom, but you need to make sure that you've rolled these ones. These ones are a little bit harder to roll because they're a whole piece that's attached to this. Sometimes if it's giving me a lot of problems, like this one seems to be, I just take my bone folder to it again. It doesn't matter if you roll the bottom part because it'll just sit flat on the base of your flower anyways. But those ones were being a little bit difficult, so I just like to use my bone folder and just sort of kind of manipulate them a little bit. Now you can see that it has come a little bit loose, which is fine. It's okay. It's not, you know, not the end of the world. But I always roll it once, and then I unroll it and re-roll because that'll help your roll be a little bit more even. Some people don't, and I just prefer to because I like a nice even roll. So I start again in the center. I get my center as tight as I'd like it, which I like a little bit tight center. Don't like a gap. And I just roll again. Like I said, this just gives you a little bit more of a more organic roll if you do it more than once. I've done them both ways. I just prefer it. You don't have to. It's whatever you like and however you like your flower. Just like in nature, no two are the same. So I'm just going to keep rolling this bad boy right here. And we are almost rolled all the way around. You do tend to hold it a little bit tighter when you're getting towards the end because it does tend to want to just stick and not want to roll. It looks a little goofy right now, but we will fix the goofiness. So what I do is once it's all rolled up like the way I like it, which this is pretty loose and that's how I like it, I take right here where you see the bottom that's going to be the base, grab a little hot melt glue and dab it in and spread it around because you want it to make sure that it's going to hold your flower together pretty nicely. Don't burn yourself. I have burned myself more times than I can count. And you just kind of want to roll your bases up and hold on to it for just a minute so that it all sticks and holds. Now it is messy. I will tell you that. Mine looks messy right now, but it will get fixed as you move your petals around. Sometimes I do need to add a little dab of glue because some of the glue goes up into the flower itself, but that's okay. They're allowed to. Now you can see my flower is a little funky looking, right? It ain't cute. But now you get to fix it, and that's where you kind of make the flower how you want it. So you just come along the edges of your petals, and you can just bend them out with your fingers, and it just gives you a more defined look. It gives you a little more of a flowery design. I'm going to fluff mine a little bit. You can roll yours looser, you can roll yours tighter. One of the other tricks, I'm not going to do the whole thing because I'm going to show you another trick I like, is you press it on a table, and you just kind of press it down a little bit, move it around, and then you see it's flattened it. You come back through, and you just pull your petals apart a little bit more. Just like this. Just like this. And I use my nail, and I just kind of manipulate and play around with them until they are how I want them to be. Again, this one is a tad messy, but I'm trying to do it from an angle that is not working for me. But there you have a paper flower. This is one I made earlier when I was actually working at an angle that I could work with a little bit better. I haven't glued this one together fully. It's just got a little dab of glue holding it on. But you can see this one I made much smaller, and it has a different petal. I will pull it apart a little bit so you guys can see. This one has a different petal pattern. But they're very easy to make. Once you get the hang of it and practice for a while, you will have no problem making paper flowers.